Operation Mincemeat. Alright fellas, picture this, it's 1943. The Allies want to invade Sicily. The problem? Everyone with a map knows Sicily is the obvious target, including the Germans. So British intelligence sat down and asked, what's the silliest thing that could possibly work? Eventually, they figured it out. They came up with a plan to take a corpse, dress him up as a British officer, stuff his pockets with fake love letters, receipts, personal junk, and most importantly, secret invasion plans saying the real target is Greece. Then dump the body off the coast of Spain and hope the Germans take the bait. This is already insane, but it gets better. The man didn't exist. His entire identity was fabricated down to his fiancée's photo. The documents were intentionally sloppy, like a real officer rushed them into his pocket. And Britain deliberately chose Spain because it was neutral, but full of German spies who absolutely could not resist snooping. And snoop they did. The Spanish quietly copied the documents and passed them to Germany. German intelligence read them, nodded solemnly, and went, "Oh yeah, this seems extremely real." They reinforced Greece, moved divisions away from Sicily, and congratulated themselves on being very smart. Then the Allies landed in Sicily, and the Germans were not ready at all. The invasion succeeded faster and cheaper than expected, largely because Hitler trusted a corpse more than his own generals. This plan should not have worked, and somehow it worked perfectly. Alright, now let's talk about Abraham Crijnssen, aka the warship that survived World War II by pretending to be an actual island. So it's early 1942, Japan is steamrolling through Southeast Asia, the Dutch Navy is getting absolutely folded, and most Allied ships in the region are either sunk, fleeing, or reconsidering their life choices. The Abraham Crijnssen, a small Dutch cruiser, is stranded in the East Indies with Japanese air superiority everywhere. That's when the ships are usually sunk, but someone on board had an idea so stupid it circles back around to being genius. The plan was simple. During the day, the ship would park next to islands. At night, it would move. And to sell the illusion, the crew covered the entire deck in trees, branches, bushes, and camouflage netting until the ship looked like a floating jungle. Not stealth technology, not radar jamming, just trees. From the air, Japanese pilots saw what appeared to be yet another boring tropical island and didn't bother checking. Because why would you? It's the Pacific. Everything looks like an island. Meanwhile, the crew is just chilling under palm leaves, hoping no one notices the island changing locations every night, and somehow it worked. The ship crawled its way all the way to Australia without being attacked once. No dogfights, no dramatic chases, just aggressive landscaping and vibes. To be clear, this was not some carefully planned deception doctrine. If a single pilot had flown lower or noticed the island had a wake, this thing was done, but nobody did. The Japanese missed it entirely. Alright, now let's talk about inflatable tanks. So it's 1944, and the Allies are getting ready for D-Day. Biggest invasion in history. Thousands of men, thousands of ships. And one huge problem. If Germany knows where the landing is happening, Normandy turns into a slaughterhouse. So, the next logical step was to create an entire fake army in southern England, of course. Fake camps, fake radio traffic, fake generals, and most importantly, fake tanks. Inflatable tanks, rubber Shermans that could be set up in minutes and looked convincing enough from the air. From a bomber's perspective, a tank is a shape with shadows. From high altitude, a rubber tank looks just as threatening as a real one, especially when it's parked next to fake trucks, fake artillery, and fake soldiers doing fake drills. The Germans buy it, completely. German reconnaissance sees a massive force aimed at Pas-de-Calais, the shortest route to France. So Germany reinforces the wrong place. Divisions sit there waiting for an invasion that never comes. Meanwhile, the real invasion hits Normandy, and when it does, German commanders hesitate. They assume it's a diversion. Surely the real attack is still coming where all those tanks were. Spoiler, it wasn't. By the time Germany realizes the inflatable army is just an elaborate prank, it's too late. Normandy is secured, the beachhead expands, and the war in Western Europe is basically decided. If you are still here, thanks. Please subscribe. It would mean a world to me if we could hit 1,000 subscribers. Thanks. Battle of Eben-Emael. It is still an early phase of the war, and Belgium has this massive concrete nightmare called Fort Eben-Emael. It's huge, thick armor, giant guns, overlooks key bridges, designed specifically to stop a German invasion. Military engineers are very proud of it. They are extremely proud of it. Germany takes one look and says, cool, we'll just land on the roof. That's the plan. No artillery barrage, no long siege, just a handful of soldiers in silent gliders landing directly on top of the fort at dawn. Because why fight the walls when you can skip them? The Belgians did not expect this, at all. The gliders touch down almost silently. German engineers hop out and start slapping shaped charges onto gun turrets like they're speedrunning a demolition job. These were new hollow charges designed to punch straight through concrete, which the fort was very much not prepared for. Within minutes, the main guns are destroyed, the defenders inside have no idea what's happening, they can't see the attackers, they can't aim their weapons upward, their entire fortress is basically blind. Meanwhile, German ground forces secure nearby bridges, and the fort, which was supposed to hold for days or weeks, surrenders in less than 36 hours. A structure built to stop an army is taken out by about 80 guys with gliders and explosives. Alright, now let's talk about the defense of Konstanz. So Allied bombers are turning German cities into nighttime fire pits. Standard procedure across Germany is to black out everything. No streetlights, no windows, nothing. Darkness equals survival, everyone's doing it, everyone except Konstanz. Konstanz is a German city sitting right on the border with Switzerland, like right there. And Switzerland is neutral, untouched, and very much not getting bombed. So someone in Konstanz looks across the border and has an absolutely unhinged idea. What if we just pretend we're Swiss? Instead of turning the lights off, Konstanz turns them all on. Street lights blazing, windows glowing. The city looks peaceful, calm, and very much not like a German war target. From the air, it blends perfectly with nearby Swiss towns that are also fully lit because neutrality is awesome like that. And Allied bombers flying at night aren't exactly pulling up Google Maps, they're navigating by shapes, coastlines, lakes, and light patterns. Lake Constance, shared with Switzerland. Lights on? It must be Switzerland, so Konstanz just sits there, fully illuminated, casually glowing through the entire war while nearby German cities get absolutely wrecked. This was not an official grand strategy. There were no memos titled Operation Gaslight the RAF. It was just local officials realizing that blackout rules were optional if you lived next to a country nobody was allowed to bomb. And it worked. Konstanz was largely spared from bombing, not because it was hidden, but because it was too visible. Alright, now let's talk about the low-level bouncing bombs. So it's 1943. Germany has massive dams holding back water that powers factories, mines, and infrastructure in the Ruhr region. Blow the dams, you cripple industry. Easy concept. One problem, the Germans protected these dams like their lives depended on it. Heavy flak, torpedo nets, and defenses everywhere. Normal bombs? Useless. Torpedoes? Caught by nets. So Britain does the logical thing and invents a bomb that skips across water like a rock you throw at a lake. Yeah, seriously. The idea was to drop a spinning bomb at extremely low altitude so it would bounce over the torpedo nets, hit the dam wall, sink, and explode at the perfect depth. This required planes to fly at night at low altitude under heavy fire with zero margin for error. To make this work, pilots had to maintain an exact height, speed, and release point. No modern computers, no fancy targeting systems, just eyeballing it while being shot at. Oh, and if you messed up, you either slammed into the water, hit the dam directly, or exploded yourself. The crews trained endlessly, flying so low they were basically trimming trees. Casualties during the actual raid were brutal. Planes went down, entire crews died. It was chaos. But then, it worked. The bombs bounced, the dams broke, massive flooding followed, power production dropped, railways washed out, German industry took a real hit, even if not a war-ending one. And yet, the "this should never work" weapon worked exactly as intended. Physics was offended, Germany was flooded, and Britain called it a win. Operation Chariot. So it's 1942. Germany has this massive dry dock at Saint-Nazaire in France. This dock is important because it's the only place on the Atlantic coast that can repair huge battleships like the Tirpitz. As long as that dock exists, German capital ships can terrorize Allied shipping and then casually pop in for repairs. The British want it gone. The problem? The dock is surrounded by guns, troops, searchlights, and everything else you'd expect guarding something important. Bombing it from the air won't work. Too precise, too reinforced. So Britain comes up with a plan that sounds like it was written at 3 a.m. They take an old destroyer, pack its bow with explosives, disguise it as a German ship, and sail it directly into the dock gates. The idea is to ram the dock, beach the ship, let commandos wreck everything nearby, and then have the ship explode later, because why not add a delayed blast for fun? Against all logic, the ship makes it in. German defenses hesitate just long enough. The destroyer smashes into the dock exactly where it needs to. Commandos jump off, start blowing stuff up, and chaos erupts. Most of them are killed or captured, because yeah, this was basically a suicide run. Hours later, after the Germans relax and start inspecting the captured ship, the explosives go off. The dock gates disappear, German officers disappear. The dock is permanently destroyed. This plan was reckless, expensive, and brutal, but it worked. Alright, now we've got Operation Shoestring. So it's 1942. The Pacific War is not going great. Japan is expanding fast and the US needs a win. Intelligence spots the Japanese building an airfield on Guadalcanal and America decides, cool, we'll just take it. No long prep, no massive buildup, just crossed fingers. The Marines land and initially things go fine. They capture the airfield, rename it Henderson Field, and then immediately realize they are extremely alone. The Navy, after getting spooked by Japanese ships, pulls back. Supplies stop coming. Ammo runs low, food runs low, medical supplies run low. Morale also running low. Meanwhile, the Japanese are absolutely not done. They launch repeated ground assaults, naval bombardments, and air raids. Every night feels like the apocalypse. The Marines are rationing food, reusing equipment, and praying the enemy doesn't notice how close they are to running out of everything. This was not a clean, confident offensive. This was survival mode. Commanders didn't even know if reinforcements would arrive in time. At multiple points, the Americans were one bad night away from losing the entire island, but somehow it holds. Henderson Field keeps operating, planes keep flying, Japanese supply runs get wrecked. Attrition starts doing its thing, and slowly, painfully, the balance shifts. Japan can't sustain the fight, and the US refuses to let go. Operation Shoestring worked not because it was smart, but because quitting would have been worse. It was underplanned, undersupplied, and borderline reckless. And yet it became the turning point of the Pacific War. Next up, the Battle of Crete. In 1941, Germany had this bold new idea. Instead of invading with tanks and troops like a normal country, what if we just dropped an entire army out of the sky? That idea became the first full-scale airborne invasion in history. The plan? Drop elite German paratroopers directly onto Crete, seize key airfields, then fly in reinforcements. Simple. The problem? The Allies on Crete know it's coming. They're dug in, they're armed, and paratroopers land scattered, lightly equipped, and extremely vulnerable. So when the Germans jump, it's a massacre. Paratroopers land in the wrong places, get shot before they can even grab their weapons, and entire units are wiped out within minutes. Officers die, communications collapse. From the outside, this looks like a catastrophic failure. Germany is bleeding elite troops at an insane rate, and yet it somehow still works. Through a mix of stubbornness, confusion, and one critical mistake by the Allies, abandoning the Malem airfield, the Germans managed to secure a foothold. Reinforcements fly in, momentum shifts. The Allies realize too late what's happening and begin evacuating. Crete falls. Germany wins the battle. But the cost is so horrifying that Hitler immediately bans large-scale airborne operations forever. And the last one is Operation Pedestal. So it's 1942, and Malta is dying. This tiny island is absolutely vital because it sits right in the middle of Axis supply routes to North Africa. From Malta, the Allies are wrecking German and Italian convoys non-stop. Naturally, the Axis responded by bombing Malta into the Stone Age and blockading it. By summer, Malta is almost out of everything. Food, ammo, fuel, hope. One more month like this and the island folds, which would be a logistical nightmare for the Allies. So Britain launches Operation Pedestal, a massive convoy escorted by basically every ship they can spare. And immediately everything goes wrong. German submarines attack, bombers attack, torpedo boats attack, mines, air raids, you name it. Ships are sunk one by one. Escorts go down, the convoy gets shredded. By the end, almost the entire operation is a disaster. Except for one thing, the tanker Ohio. Ohio gets bombed, torpedoed, set on fire. Her engines die. Her deck is wrecked. At one point, she's literally broken in half and still floating out of pure anger. The only reason she doesn't sink is because British destroyers physically strap themselves to her sides and tow her the last miles into Malta. She arrives barely alive. No engines, no steering, held together by cables and vibes, but she arrives, and her fuel saves Malta. Planes fly again, ships operate, the island survives, Axis supply lines stay under attack, North Africa eventually collapses for Germany. Operation Pedestal was an escort mission that lost most of its escorts, a convoy where almost everything failed except the one ship that mattered. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll get back for the new World War II content. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.